Hey, what's up, everyone? It's your man Andre Rocks, aka Shegun Agu, the American refugee. I'm coming to you live from my home in Accra, Ghana, Africa. Peace to all my people in the diaspora. I promised you that when I made the decision as to whether I was going to take this qualified immunity case to the Supreme Court or not, that I would let you know. So I've made a decision. But before I let you know what my decision is, let's recap. For those that just tuned into the channel, this is their first video they're watching of me. 5 years ago, August 2nd, 2018, I'm sorry. I was illegally arrested by the Pasco County Sheriff's Department, by Deputy Dunn of the Pasco County Sheriff's Department. I was charged with resisting arrest as the sole count of the indictment. In other words, I was charged with resisting arrest, and there's no other charge because I wasn't being arrested. They charged me with that because I refused to identify myself. I refused to give my identification in a situation where I was not required by law to give my identification. So in retaliation, they arrested me and put me in jail. Now, I took that case, the charge, to trial, and I was acquitted because it was an illegal arrest. You can read Judge Joseph Public's ruling on that in Pasco County. After that, I filed a civil rights case against the Pasco County Sheriff's Department in federal court. They didn't even bother to argue that they were right, because they knew they were wrong. What they argued was qualified immunity, which is basically we were wrong, but we're covered under qualified immunity, so you can't sue us. The federal judge ruled that they were not entitled to qualified immunity because they had violated my rights and violated a clearly established law. So they were stripped of their qualified immunity, and I was allowed to proceed with suing them. They, in turn, filed an appeal to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. Yes, the same 11th Circuit that is dealing with the Trump administration right now and all of that. So we went to Atlanta. Remember, guys, I live in Africa. So we went to Atlanta. We argued our case in front of a 3-judge panel. They, of course, argued their case in front of the same 3-judge panel. And then we waited. For 16 months, we waited for a ruling from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals. We got that ruling last week. Unfortunately, in a 2-to-1 decision, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals overturned the Federal District Court ruling and granted the Sheriff's Office qualified immunity. Well, one of the things that we argued when we argued this in front of the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals was not only are they not entitled to qualified immunity, but that qualified immunity on its face is unconstitutional. For those of you that saw my interview with Professor Alexander Reiner from Cordova Law University, you will know that the original text of the Civil Rights Act of 1874 actually excluded qualified immunity. In other words, it specifically said, no, police officers do not get qualified immunity for violating people's rights, because if they get qualified immunity, then people have no way of enforcing their rights. But when the Civil Rights Act of 1874 was recopied so that we could put together a single law book for a single federal law book, whether by accident or on purpose, the court clerks omitted that text, those 16 words, from the law. And because those words were omitted, we have the entire qualified immunity doctrine. So what we argued was, in fact, that qualified immunity was never the law in the United States of America. Listen to Professor Cordova's explanation, because he does a much better job than I will in explaining the legality of it. Just go back to my videos and check that out. But basically, we argue that qualified immunity does not exist and should be overturned. So now what we have is the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals ruling against me, which is in direct opposition to rulings by both the Ninth and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which puts us in a position where we become excellent candidates to be heard by the Supreme Court. Because when you have one court system ruling one way about a law and another court system ruling another way about a law, the people don't know what the law is. Is it what this court says, or is it what this court says? And in situations like that, the Supreme Court has to come in and say, this is the law. So we became an excellent candidate for going to the United States Supreme Court. Now, if we argue our case based on what Professor Alexander Reiner from Cordova University stated, we have a shot at attacking qualified immunity at the Supreme Court level. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's a small shot, but we have a small shot of ending qualified immunity. So the reason that I was debating whether to do this or not, take it to the United States Supreme Court, is very simple. We live in reality. Now, for the last 5 years, I've been fighting this case, and I have been bearing the financial burden of fighting this case. And it's not been cheap. And please understand, I'm not complaining. You know, I have been tremendously blessed in my life to be able to make money with my music and with my clothing line and everything like that. And most people have not been able to take a case this far because of the financial issues. And I am so glad and so blessed to have been able to take this case this far, for everybody who hasn't been able to take this case this far. That being said, let's be real here, guys. I'm a B-lister at best. At my peak, I was a B-lister. I haven't performed in 4 years. So I'm really, you know, I'm not making the kind of money Jay-Z and Kanye West and all those guys are making. I have a family. I don't know if you guys can hear in the background, my daughter is out there crying right now. I have a family, I have a wife, I've got kids. And I had to debate whether I can bear the financial burden of taking this case to the Supreme Court. Because taking a case to the Supreme Court is not cheap. It is hundreds of thousands of dollars. And realistically, even if we win, I'm not going to get that anything remotely like that back. The case, I'm fighting this case for justice, not for financial gain. I've already spent more than I'll ever get on this case. That being said, I had to debate whether I was going to take the case to the United States Supreme Court, whether my family could afford to bear that burden. So I made a decision. I am going to take the case to the United States Supreme Court. I have, I believe, 14 days left to file. And I'm going to take it to the United States Supreme Court. That being said, I need help. I am going to, of course, bear the brunt of the case, but I need help. Now, I am not going to sit here and beg you for money, beg for donations. I don't do that for myself. I have done donation drives for other people, for sick children and different causes, but I've never done a donation drive for myself, and I'm not about to begin now. And the reason that is because I have been tremendously blessed in my life. And for me to ask for donations seems distasteful. It just seems distasteful. That being said, I do need financial help. So instead of asking for donations, I'm going to ask you to buy something, or many things. As many of you know, I have a clothing line, Yasimba Clothing. You can check me out at yasimba.com. Now, what we've done is we have created a fundraiser on Yasimba clothing. So you can go to Yasimba, Yasimba, better known now as the Funky African. You can go to yasimba.com and you can pick up an End Qualified Immunity t-shirt. We've got hats. We've got flags. We've got jackets. We've got crop tops. We've got hoodies. Instead of making a donation, buy an item. That way, I have sold you something. You get what you paid for, and everything from the End Qualified Immunity fundraiser is going to go directly to my legal fees. Now, that, I'll be honest with you, I'm still going to have to put out quite a bit of my own money out of pocket. But if we can raise some money to take this load off of me and go at the Supreme Court to end qualified immunity, or at least try. I mean, listen, guys, I'm not going to lie to you and say that this will work. But we got a shot at trying. Not many people get the opportunity to take a case to the Supreme Court. We got a shot at trying. So go to the website, yasimba.com. Buy a t-shirt, buy a hat, buy something. I'm going to take this case all the way. I'm going to take this case all the way, but everybody who wants to end qualified immunity, I need your help. I need your help because the financial burden is starting to break my back. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. And I would hate to get halfway through this case, get halfway through up to the Supreme Court and not have enough money to finish this thing. So that's where we're at. We're taking it to the Supreme Court, baby. But we're going to try. We're going to file in the next few weeks. We're taking it.